Hello and welcome. This is rooflemonger, and my friends, we're on with our continuing series, having a look at certain characters in Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate and just what has changed for them, character-wise, variation-wise, and all that. And by very popular request, today we're looking at Raiden. And yeah, if enough people request stuff, it happens. So don't be afraid to comment, right? But yeah, so Raiden got a lot, not only variation-wise, but also definitely balance patch-wise. A lot of the hurtbox, hitbox issue stuff absolutely positively benefited him. But before we get directly to that, let's take a look at the variation we'll be looking at for today. Now, first things first here, if you like the classic variations of either Thunder Wave or Raiden, they're both still 100% perfectly valid. They were always before, right? Teleport, best teleport in the game. Storm Cell, great combo starter. And Raiden, everything with quick charge and that entails, right? So those are still both fantastic, and they're only both better yet thanks to like the hurtbox, hitbox changes that Raiden got. But for today, what we'll be looking at is this. So we'll have one familiar option in Storm Cell, but we're going to take two options that were never before available in a competitive variation, being the Rolling Thunder and the Lightning Storm. Now, also, the Super Bolt was never before pickable in a competitive variation, and unfortunately, I'm not too sold on this move, honestly. There's a lot of issues hitbox-wise, going over people's heads when it shouldn't, and just not working the way it should, so I don't find this move too reliable right now. But when it comes to Rolling Thunder, Lightning Storm, and of course, Storm Cell, a classic, right? This is a very reliable way to play Raiden, and a new way to play Raiden versus the classic setups. So before we get directly to the variation talk, I do want to mention the hitbox, hurtbox issues and how it affects Raiden, because it's only for the positive in my testing. The first issue is Forward 1. Forward 1 used to have a lot of problems with breathing hitboxes, like people's heads going up and down, just during like walking out and about and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes at max range, the Forward 1 would just go clear through their head. Like, I'm not talking like you obviously miss. I mean, you can recreate it and like it'd be a 50-50 chance, depending on the character, depending on the animation, if it would just go through their head or not, right? As far as I can tell, that is now finally fixed. So this move is just a lot more reliable as a poke/counter poke, meaning you get your combos and all that from it. So all of a sudden you get to use it as it was intended. And then hey, combo time, fantastic. And of course the poke changes and all the hitbox changes as well. So down one now having more hit advantage, and just the hitbox or box changes being what they are, you can now jail into stand 3. And stand 3 is fantastic because one, just as a string starter here, the first two hits, which are very hit confirmable, is almost 8% in and of itself. So, combo wise, once again here, you're getting your pretty big damage, right? 33% mid-screen with all that corner carry, nothing to sneeze at. So on top of being a solid hit confirm, completely safe on block too, by the way, only -3, which is very good because, you don't have to submit to much, and you can just basically go back to a poke, right? The only thing to beat you is another poke. So if you want to play like a madman, this will let you. And that also has a plus on block follow-up here, so that's just pretty interesting. But yeah, just effectively, due to the hitbox, hurtbox changes, and just the pokes in general, his long-range option is now much more reliable because it just won't magically go through people's heads anymore. And he gets a much stronger jailing option than he ever really had before, thanks to down 1 jailing into 3-2 and everything that comes with it. And all that, and the fact that Raiden's one of the very few characters that actually got a significant balance change. Back 1-4 went from punishable on block to plus on block. Now it's only +1, but still, at this range, perfect back 1 range, right? So now all of a sudden, back 1-2 throw, back 1-4 plus on block, back 1 just stagger for pressure, all that kind of stuff. This little bit of a mind game setup just got a little bit more important yet. Now, going over the variation we've created here. First up here, I don't think we got to belabor Storm Cell too much. Like, you guys know what Storm Cell's all about, right? It's your big damage thing. Storm Cell also very good as it's one of the better anti-breakaway combo starters. Like, say we set the bot here and they're going to break away fastest possible timing, right? And most people don't break at fastest possible timing, but even if you were somehow to do so, if I know you're going to break, I can get some pretty decent damage in. Like, look at that. That's 30%, and you broke that, right? I bet you don't feel like a winner if you broke that and still took 30%. So Stormstyle really good in that regard. And the other thing is, at least for me, like any variation you want to make with Raiden, it's always going to have direct competition with Raiden. Because Raiden, it's really good. You know, Quick Charge is really good. Thunder Wave is really good. Makes a lot of stuff safe. But just for a counterpoint to that, I guess, because we don't have Thunder Wave, that means we get our Lightning Strike back, right? Our aimable Lightning Bolt. And this helps Raiden's screen control a fair bit. And considering we're going to have Raiden's Fart Cloud, for lack of a more elegant term, on the screen a lot, and we'll talk about that. You know, just screen control with Raiden gets a lot more important. And we get that thanks to this variation. And some of the things that are a little bit easier in Raiden cost us some bar in this variation. But every time we have to spend bar here that Raiden doesn't, well, we generally get a lot more out of it. So there is that as well. So the first thing to talk about here is let's talk Rolling Thunder, aka Fart Cloud. I call this Fart Cloud in honor of Reptile in Mortal Kombat X, because Noxious Reptile to me was Fart Cloud Reptile. And much the same here, it is a damage over time move, and it deals 1% per tick. Some DOTs deal like 0.5% per tick. This is 1% per tick every time, so it's very damaging. And here's the thing, so it travels across the screen, and due to that, it's a big mobile threat. Like an Aaron Black puddle, if it's just sitting there, you know, hey, I guess I better not step in the puddle, right? But Rolling Thunder is coming after you, as you can see. And one of the beauties of Rolling Thunder is, well, say the enemy is blocking, and we just turn on our block here. So while they're in it, like the more you can keep them in block stun, the longer they're going to be in the cloud, and the more DOD damage you're going to take. The move travels, I'd say, roughly half the screen in and of itself, and you can walk behind and all that and just make people scared. But if you were to enhance it, then all of a sudden that screen distance travel is extreme, as it will go the entire screen, and then just a little bit even more so. So question is, how do we set up? Well, one, it's already very fast for what it is. Like, as you can see here, I can turn to a block state very quickly after doing it. So unless you're being directly hit during the actual animation, pretty safe. And certain strings make it a lot easier to work with as well. So say we did something like 4-3-2. Which is a mid starter, by the way, and 11 frame mid starter, so it's a very valuable string. And that has 41 frames of hit advantage, right? So if we were to do this here and go directly into the move, all but a few characters, if they didn't immediately reversal, I'm talking like your Sub-Zeros and Liu Kangs of the world, they didn't immediately reversal, they just gotta accept it. So you got a free setup, right? And, you know, for the Sub-Zeros and, you know, Liu Kangs of the world, it requires a little bit of predictability because, you know, if you didn't do it and they just smash it, then free punish for you, right? And of course, at wait point on their wake up, then it's just a mobile threat. Like, you're a little bit negative after the setup, sure, but it's against nature to like, okay, I'm gonna willingly walk into this thing, right? People are gonna wanna back away, and as soon as they start backing away, we got all sorts of fun options to work with, and we'll talk more about that one later. But yeah, so it screws with people, for lack of a better term. And honestly, there's not too much more to say to it than that. It's just a giant mobile threat. It is very much, people will not want to walk into it. Like, it took me a long time to get over the hang up of stepping into the Aaron Black puddle and fighting back in it. Because sometimes that's what you got to do, but your brain's going to scream at you the whole time, right? Like, I still struggle with that sometimes. And this is very much the same deal, but it's a mobile threat. Now, the Lightning Storm. Lightning Storm is a very, very versatile move. You have several options from it, first of all. So if you hit one in the air, it's a downwards angled lightning bolt here. And that's all one continuous beam. It all comes out very fast. Now on block, just buyer beware here, on block, -24. A couple of the more privileged characters in the game can actually punch that on block, even from this far away. But you know what? Those guys are few and far between, and most of the cast has literally no answer to this. So it's just basically another angle of attack between all the options you already have. And as far as angles of attack go, it's a really strong one. Now if you were to hit 2 in the air, it'll shoot that lightning bolt straight across. So this effectively, if you know someone's going to be jumping a lot, this is a good way to shut it down. But other than that, not too much use. If you hit 4, you just cancel it. You just fall back to the ground. And if you hit 3, this is where the big moneymaker is here. If you hit 3, it's a big old overhead. And you already just saw right there one of the best things. So point blank, it's -3 on block. So barely negative. Once again, the only way to truly enforce anything on Raiden at that point is you have to poke him back. And of course, if he just blocks in, you just lost your turn again, right? So, like, it's barely negative, and it's the best kind of barely negative because it doesn't grant the person who just blocked any real confidence. And at right distances, it can hit really weird. And all of a sudden then, it can hit, like, well, not that cross-ups are a thing in Mortal Kombat, but it hits cross-up in a way that'll make it, like, less negative on block. Like, all of a sudden, that pushback were only -1, and with perfect distances, you can actually make it completely neutral on block. So there's a lot to it, and it's very big on combos we can do from it, and also just general pressure. And finally, if you enhance it, he'll just shoot out a bunch of lightning bolts, as you can see here. And this is also very important to the pressure stuff we're going to talk about later. So now, besides like the neutral applications of just shooting the bolt and all that kind of stuff, what makes this move so good is simply it lets you be stupid with certain moves, and specifically I'm talking forward 4. So forward 4, man, maybe Raiden's not the best character in the game or nothing, but this is certainly one of the best moves in the game. For a measly 19 frame startup here, we get this ridiculously fast traveling mid. Now here, how about this? How about this? So show of hands, everybody. Who's been hit by this online before? Oh, all of you. Okay. So yeah, so about that. Like, forward 4 in a storm cell is super unsafe on block, right? But it still happens all the time because forward 4 lets you get away with murder. So what if we could do something with forward 4 and we still get all the damage on hit, but we're completely safe on block? And effectively, this is where Lightning Storm kicks in because, hey, there we go. So about 18.5, almost 19% damage, right? So it's not like a kingly sum of damage, to be sure. It's not your biggest damage combo, but once again here, what it is dirt safe. So if the enemy were to block, they just gotta accept all of it, right? And this specific angle here, we also got the weird cross-up, so we're even less negative than we were before, basically giving us a chance just to steal a turn, right? There is no flawless block window. You cannot hit a button fast enough, and certain things you can. We'll talk about those in a second. But yeah, effectively, you block it, you just have to accept all of it. Now, one thing to know here, so it was about 18.5% on hit, right? So it's good damage. Like, it's not your most optimal B&B, sure, but look at it on block as well. So that right there is 1% on block, right? So now we're in the air. So we got 3 hits of a little over 1% as well. So we're already at 4% plus change. And our final hit is 2%. So we're almost at 7% damage on ship. And once again, we're barely negative. Like, we can try to steal a turn, right? And just go from there. So even if you blocked, you just took 7%. And yeah, that's really, really good. So it's one of those things like, yeah, sure, you want to hit with it, right? You get more damage on hit, but on block, you're doing just fine as well. Like, once again, right there, hey, with the spacing right there, we're -1. So what I'm trying to tell you is this move lets you be downright stupid and ignorant with forward 4. Kind of just turn off your brain and go for it. And you know what? Hey, that is a pretty good way to play fighting games, honestly, right? So give it a shot. Now, the thing is with this, it doesn't work with every single string. So back 1-2 is an example here. So I'm Devora now, and Raiden's going to do it here on block. Fantastic, right? But the thing is this. For back 1-2 specifically, I can jab him out. Now, I cannot jab him out on forward 4. There's just not enough time for it. You cannot get a button out in time. But for this one, yeah, you can, right? So before you try to apply this theory to every single string, just watch out because that is a thing. So there's a lot of options here that, once again, Raiden has, but Raiden is very predicated on the fact that you have charge up. And if you don't, well, you don't really have any options. This, you have options all the time. We have our weird slate of zoning between Fart Cloud, our traditional Lightning Bolt, our Fire Lightning Bolt, which we keep thanks to the fact we don't have Raiden replacing the move. And versus a lot of characters, there's literally nothing they can do to stop this. It is just a mid-angled fireball that has incredible range, and against most of the cast, Raiden just laughs and got his back safely, and just about nobody can deal with it. But you know what? Cetriol and Garrus, they can still get you. We have our weird pressure option. So once again, not really too much you can do about it on block. You have to accept it. If you try to hit a button, you're just going to get hit out. We get a little over 6% in chip, which is fantastic. And of course, if it hits, all the better yet. And best, well, we're barely negative, right? So we're not really dissuaded from trying to steal a turn back. -1's not stopping anybody, right? Least of all, should it stop you. And when you know you have a bar and you can just kind of get away with murder, well, you're more inclined to try to get away with murder, right? So I just think it's very valuable and interesting. So it gives us a nice long range option, and it just lets you be stupid and safe. And the more of these you can just blindly toss out and you don't really care. Like, obviously you want the hit, but if it gets blocked, you still get a significant amount of chip as well. So it's kind of whatever. And of course, Storm Cell, right? One of the better combo starters in the game, honestly. Either for raw damage, corner carry, or the fact that if you try to break away, as we showed earlier in the video, you're still eating a lot of damage regardless, so the option of breakaway is not a very attractive one. You put all these things together, and I think you have a very fun and viable alternative to Raiden versus the usual stuff we've always been going over. So that is a look at Raiden in Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate. Once again, just the base changes to the game itself already help him. So if you just like stuff that already existed, you know, if you're a Raiden player, Thunderwave player, you're already winning thanks to, you know, better jailing options, more reliable hitboxes and stuff like forward one. You already won. You don't need extra stuff. But if you are looking for extra stuff, I think what we've gone over in this video is a viable alternative to what is already existing. I'm not going to say it's better because I don't think it's better, right? But I do think it's just as good, just a different take on the character. So with that all said, I say, hey, try it out. You might like it. And with all that said, my friends, I guess we've reached the end of this video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well. Go out and play some Mortal Kombat.